My former congressman from Roswell, Georgia, where I spent many years. He serves on the House Committee on Ways and Means. In this Congress, Dr. Price was named chair of the House Committee on the Budget. In previous Congresses, he served as chairman of the House Republican Policy Committee, chairman of the Republican Study Committee, and all that good stuff. And Tom's name has been brought up numerous times by our congressman now in the 7th District, Dave Bratt. He says that Tom Price is his mentor in Congress, so he's got all kinds of accolades coming down. Dr. Price, good to have you, sir. Good to
Thanks, John. Wonderful to be back with you.
Got to do a quick family update. How's your wife, Betty?
Betty just was elected to the State House in a special election, so I'll send her your congratulations.
Wow, fantastic. Okay, so we thought she was going to run for mayor, but I'm kind of out of the whole thing. Okay, good deal. She's in the State House. Now, your son, Robert, who, by the way, I coached in Little League in Roswell, Georgia. Now, give us a quick update on...
Well, you're kind to ask, John. He lives in Nashville. He's playing with a band called Mockingbird's Son. They're a country band out of Nashville and having a great time.
He's a very talented young man. Fantastic. Graduate of Vanderbilt University, right?
Correct.
See, I got all this down. Okay, Congressman, let's go to the Employee Rights Act, something that you've spent some time on. It's kind of under everybody's radar screen. Can you share with our audience where you're at with it, what it does?
Yeah, one of the things that interested me in this, not the least of which is I think employees need to have the greatest amount of latitude and flexibility and choices in their work environment. But when I learned that only 7% of the workers in this country who work in a union situation, who are under the control of a union, have ever voted for a union formation. Only 7%. So I said, well, that doesn't make any sense at all. So we began looking into it, and what we did is piece together about 7 or 8 specific items called the Employee Rights Act that would give significant choice and authority to employees. For example, secret ballot elections for union formation. Right now, that's not necessarily the case. Make certain that there's a recertification election for unions on a periodic basis. That union members have to say okay if they want their union dues to be used for political activity, as opposed to just have that money taken from them. So, really common sense things. Every single one of them, the American people agree with by over 80%. So we introduced the bill yesterday. It's H.R. 3222. We're hoping to, we got about 30 co-sponsors and hoping to continue to increase that number and get this thing moving.
We would assume that the normal union organizers are going to be putting up fierce opposition, right? How do you get this thing passed?
Well, you get it passed, and you're right, because they're worried about their jobs, not the employees' jobs.
Right.
You get it passed because the American people have said this just makes sense. Everybody understands and appreciates the need for secret ballot elections for anything. We require it here in the halls of Congress of the United States to elect our leadership, for goodness sake. So why wouldn't we require it for union formation? Everybody believes that a majority ought to rule when an election occurs. Right now, that's not the case. It's not a majority of the members or the employees. It's a majority of those that show up. Everybody believes that unions ought to be recertified periodically over a period of time. So this is just common sense stuff, and what folks out there need to be telling their their representatives is, look, make this the law of the land. It ought to be. So,
Congressman, have you gotten any traction from anybody in the upper chamber on this?
Yes, in fact, Senator Orrin Hatch and Senator Lamar Alexander introduced a companion bill yesterday as well. We had a press conference yesterday to announce that. They have already 16 co-sponsors in the United States Senate. So we're on track, kind of pairing each other in terms of the percent of the respective chambers. Look, this is something that ought to be done. In this day and age, we're living under laws that relate to unions that are 40, 50 years old, haven't been changed in that period of time. And we have a National Labor Relations Board that has taken things to a ridiculous degree. And so what we need to do is to pull things back and say who ought to be in charge of union formation and union membership. It ought to be the employees themselves. This isn't anti-union. This is pro-worker, pro-employee, and that's the message that we'd like to deliver.
We have $123 to $128 trillion of unfunded spending mandates. We've had a couple of congressmen on our show in the past week who basically said 2027, the country simply runs out of discretionary money. You've been talking about this in town hall meetings since you first got in there in 2000s. What's happening?
Well, this is maybe the most important issue other than national security that's out there, and that is the fiscal situation of our nation. In the past 40 to 50 years, we've gone from the Congress having control over about 2/3 to 3/4 of the federal budget in each year to be able to say how should we spend our money, to now having only a third control over only a third of the budget. 2/3 of the budget is automatic spending. It just happens. It's the mandatory automatic spending that's out there. It's Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, interest on the debt. All those things that must indeed occur, but are on a path to be insolvent. And that's why the previous folks on your program have said that the federal government runs out of money, because it does, unless we save and strengthen and secure those programs, and there's an opportunity to do that. I'm privileged to chair the Budget Committee and would encourage folks to go to our website, house.budget.gov, and look at the Restoring the Trust program that we've begun, which is an effort to try to pull in ideas from all over the country about how we get our nation's fiscal path in order. Because $127 trillion of unfunded liabilities, that's unsustainable. And people throw that word or unsustainable around. What that means is that it won't be sustained, that you can't do that. And so something's got to give. And we hope that and pray that the American people, through their representatives, make it so that something gives in a positive direction, not in a negative direction.
Well, we have to do something, Congressman. We're almost out of time. I want to get your thoughts on the Iranian deal.
Well, I've read the vast majority of it. I've seen portions of the intelligence review of it that is not available for public consumption. My early assessment is that this is a very, very bad deal, not just for the United States, but for peace and stability in the Middle East and the world. I believe that this is potentially going to begin a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, which can only destabilize things. It is beyond me why the United States was unable to use their authority and leverage, our authority and leverage, to be able to get a reasonable agreement that would put significant constraints on the inability for Iran to break out in a very, very robust way from a nuclear standpoint. In addition to that, ending the UN arms embargo and the intercontinental ballistic missile embargo in Iran in a short window is absolutely unacceptable. So I think it on its face and on full measure, it appears to be a terrible agreement that this administration has reached with Iran, and we'll be doing all that we can to bring that to light for the public.
Final question: would a new president be able to overturn it? Because you're not going to override Obama's veto. You're not going to get 2/3, I don't believe. Could a new president simply overturn it?
Yeah, that's another little dirty secret here, is that this is just an agreement between the administration and Iran. This is not a treaty. It ought to be a treaty, but it's not. The president didn't want to do that because he didn't want to take the chance that he couldn't get the Senate to agree to a treaty. So this is an executive agreement with the nation of Iran, and the next president can come in and reverse it just like that through executive order. So why the others, the nations involved in this, Russia and China and Great Britain and France, would even agree to something that doesn't have the full authority of the Congress of the United States is really remarkable.
Makes no sense. We're out of time. We want to thank Dr. Tom Price for being with us. Republican, Georgia 6th District, serves on the House Committee on Ways and Means. For more info on what he's trying to do with our financial crisis, go to house.budget.gov. www.budget.gov. Congressman, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much, John. Take care.